Hello and welcome to another 5 Minutes with Sean, maybe 10. Thank you so much for starting your week with me. I really appreciate it as always. I hope everyone is staying warm here this middle of February. Boy, things have been cold. So hopefully you're warmed up. So speaking of warmed up, I think it's important that we talk about something that's coming up a lot recently on the social networks that I roll on and the people that I talk with, which is the support staff. Who is the support staff? And in this case, I'm talking about your personal support team. And I speak more to entrepreneurs, but it's also salespeople. It's anyone who works long hours, who's got a ton going on, and is trying to balance life, work, and all of this together. It takes crazy amounts of support. For me, personally, my support starts with my wife. As an entrepreneur, she has done everything and anything I could have possibly ever imagined to help me get to the point that I am at today. She takes care of all the most important things around, and in our life, that's our time and our money, right? She is the CFO for the company, so her and I spend a lot of time together as is. But the reality is, I wouldn't be where I am with Car Biz Done Better if it wasn't for her support and her telling me, just go do it. We have what we need, just go do it. And then throughout, supporting it when we were sued by our previous employer, when things didn't go perhaps the way we thought, when big contracts were on the edge and potentially canceling, she was there to support it. When we started talking about 2 years ago about getting into this, right, what you see before you, social media, the videos, the podcast, her point was, yes, it's more time, but do it. We have to do it. It's what the company needs. And when people are able to put an idea's needs above their own, to me, it's so huge. It's so huge. Now, I do my very best to be the same reverse support staff for her and anything that she wants to do. There's no doubt about it. But I give her the most credit in the world for everything that she puts up with for being married to an entrepreneur. Being married to an entrepreneur like me, for those of you who know me personally, know that cannot be easy. So there's that support, right? On the business side, I have support at two levels. One, I have my operations director, Jeff. You guys have been at the shows. You've met Jeff. You've seen him there. He supports me on all things reporting, all things going over the details, setting up the speaking engagements. This is what this guy does. He's attention to detail. That's how it works, okay? And so if I look at my wife on the personal side, Jeff on the business side, these guys do a lot. They bring so much to the table for me. There are days that I feel that I do not do enough for them, but I know that running this company and being as aggressive as I am is helping them. It is what people want to do. And being responsible for people's livelihood is another thing that sits with me. It was one thing being a GM of a store. Yes, you were responsible for the livelihood, but the boss wrote the check, okay? It was his money at the end of the day. Now, I ran it like it was mine, okay? But it wasn't. And so that wasn't the same pressure as today's pressures are. The other big part of my support staff is my therapist. And Jessica has come into my life in the last 6 months, again, via my wife and her support staff kind of recommending it to me from a business perspective. I have a problem and an obsession with this machine right here. Anyone who's an entrepreneur in today's world knows probably what I'm talking about. This thing is a headache and a hassle in most cases, but it is how business gets done. I needed help with that. I also needed help understanding kind of where I was looking to take my company because, as I've said before, I'm someone who has very strict thoughts, right? So when I have them, it's very difficult to get me diverted from them. But as my wife's done throughout the years and as Jeff has done, they've both kind of said, hey, but let's look at this. Jessica does that from a very unbiased side of things, okay? Weeks ago, I was in her office and was talking about kind of being overzealous and a little bit almost rude about my position and where people stood in things and trying to take on this whole idea of bullying. And she kind of looked at me like, look, this isn't your fight to fight because you haven't been bullied in business. So me trying to protect people was just something that I had done based on personal life, to be honest with you, right? So being younger and being bullied and watch that kind of thing happen. In my adult life, I started taking it out in my business. It didn't belong there. So now I'm trying to find out where I can help the bullying outside of business in my personal life. But it's difficult as an entrepreneur, right? Because your personal life and your business life are so intertwined, almost at all times. Especially for us, we run our company out of our house. As you see, you're in my office. This is how that works. So it makes it even more difficult. And support staff are so important because they continue to add. Recently, I've added a new part of the support staff in my boy T-Row. He's someone who can support crazy ideas like I have, and I can bounce him off of him, and he can bring me the same. And we can try to help one another. And I met him through the networking of social media. And I know there are a lot of folks that I speak with on a weekly basis that are looking for my advice and looking for that guidance. And I'm happy to help it, and I'm happy to be considered as a part of your support network. And know this, anyone who comments or engages with any of my stuff throughout any of the social media sphere is part of my support staff when it comes to the podcast and putting my ideas out there, right? Because it's not easy to do what we do. Content generation, if you want it to be quality, takes time and thought. And that's part of what I have to go through to get here, was to just think about how would it impact, what would it change? So one of the other notes that I have going on here is the social media burnout side of things. That is a real thing that's going on right now. I've seen multiple people go dark in the social media world because whatever reason, things had changed, life had gotten in the way, things had become too much. You've got to pace yourself. You have to. We're very strict on our content. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and the Wednesdays every other week, and that's expired now anyways. So it's only Monday, Friday. So you guys, again, you need to really walk through this and look at it through the entire lens of why you're doing it, who it is impacting, and what are the effects it's having. I know a lot of guys in our industry right now are starting companies, and they're starting companies so they can get them big and get them sold. Well, good for them. But that grind, when you're gone 5 days out of the week and you see your family for 2, that shit's going to catch up to you, man. And sooner or later, you're going to be posed with a decision that, not that I was posed with, but that I could see coming in my life, that it was going to be like, do you want to stay in retail or do you want to keep your wife? Or more importantly, do you want to stay in retail or do you want to stay alive? Because the rate you're going through retail and the way you're treating your body and yourself, it's going to end a lot sooner than you think, right? So again, my support staff, going back to my wife's my support staff for health and wellness around our house, right? That's on her. You guys are sitting here thinking, what do you do, Sean? Look, I've got like very few jobs in the world, okay? One of them is being able to make sure everyone's provided for. Other than that, it's pretty much try to stay positive and don't be a dick. Sometimes I struggle with the latter, of course, but the point is always about the business and the support people around me. Obviously, my family growing up was a huge part of the support staff. My parents were probably, I won't say too supportive, but they were always like, yes, you're right. Yes, it's great. You're wonderful. Yes, it's wonderful. So be careful that support staff is not being too biased towards you, and recognize when they are. Because all the support in the world is great, but if it's support in the face of honesty, that's probably not what you're looking for. You're looking for people to be honest with you and give you the feedback you deserve. And those can happen from anywhere, whether it's the online community, the personal community, or business community. That's all a part of what you look at. So I hope that you guys understand to really look around at everyone in your network and realize who is there to support you and who might be there supporting you kind of blindly, as we said earlier, or is there saying, you know what, you should look at this and look at this before you do that. People trying to give you options. That's all we're trying to do for you. Okay? So again, I really appreciate your engagement. I appreciate you being a part of my support team on the social media side, because social media is not something that I do. So here we go. Where can you find me? You can find me at Sean, S-E-A-N, at carbizdonebetter.com. You can find the cell phone number, which is for text and phone calls, 262-278-0157. You can find me all over LinkedIn, a little bit on Facebook, slightly on the Insta. Yes, bravo to the Insta, as well as all the podcast networks, Stitcher, Spotify. Look, guys, seriously, just type in 5 minutes with Sean, maybe 10, anywhere you find podcasts. And if you don't find me, send me a note you didn't find me. I'll make sure we're there. All right? Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful day.